We've seen the Yankees win many, many pennants and many World Series over the years, and New York certainly gets behind the Yankees when they're in it, which is very often. But there just seems to be a different feel in New York and in the New York area when the Mets make it. It's just a different kind of electricity. You've experienced it in 1986. You were in the playoffs again in 1988 into the NLCS. What do you make of that? Is there something to that? It just seems that it's a different fan and a different feeling and a different emotion when the Mets are good, and I think it's really good. And from an unbiased point, too, I think it's really good for baseball when the Mets are good.
Yeah, I think it's great for baseball. It's great for New York, too, when that happens. But, yeah, you're right, Kevin. It's, when the Mets seem to find themselves in the playoffs, I think it's a little different feel than the Yankees. The Yankees have so much history. And the Mets don't have that kind of history. So most of the fans are, just a couple of generations, and they're not used to having that kind of success. And so when they do get it, they embrace it. I mean, it's something that you don't expect it every year, especially leading up into this year. Their last few years have been kind of struggle. So. They finally get a chance to break through, and things are falling into place. I mean, you look at the whole David Wright situation, being hurt all year, coming back, maintaining his health, contributing here and there. Same with Murphy. You just got, Granderson swinging the bat good, Duda scuffling so bad, and then all of a sudden has a couple big hits, big home runs. So, and they beat some really good pitchers along the way. But like I said earlier, it's one thing to have to win games when you're down late and having to, get a lead early and kind of keep adding on. It's a little different animal. So we're going to find out what happens. I doubt they're going to handle Kansas City the way they handled the Cubs. Cubs to me look like a team that playing with a bit of a St. Louis Cardinals hangover. They kind of slayed the champion and their division rival, and I think those young guys just didn't have anything more in the tank. And the Mets were just, were riding high. So it was one of those things where I think the Cubs just weren't quite there yet mentally, but, those guys will learn from it. And the Mets, obviously, even though you don't equate them to having, battle-tested guys, but you've got Wright, you've got Murphy, you've got Granderson, you've got Cespedes, and Uribe. You got these players that have been through it. So that says a lot, Kelly Johnson, those kind of guys. That says a lot to have those kind of players on your roster, because those are the guys that have been through it. And when you watch them prepare and go through the motions, getting ready to go, and you just have a lot of confidence in those guys because they have been there before, and that's what's been missing.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Cubs also, getting past the Pirates, too, after that wild division where all three had so many wins this year in the Central. You mentioned earlier when the Mets were only 2 games over 500 in the middle of the summer, and then if I would have told you then, now they are going to beat Kershaw and Greinke and Lester and Arrieta and Cruz to the World Series. It's really an unbelievable story and a fun story. The other thing with the Cubs, too, they were waiting on the 3-run homer, too. Whereas the Mets
That's right.
are, moving, taking station to station. Of course, Murphy's hitting it out, but their Mets are also doing things that they didn't do during the year. They are not a fast team. They're not a team that steals a lot of bases. But in this series, the bases that they did take were huge with Murphy and Cespedes, and right moves at the right time, basically. And Murphy, can do no wrong. Not only is he hitting these home runs, Hojo, but you see these balls he's taking off the chest or off the leg, but still making the play. And then he seems to be smiling about it and laughing to the shortstop and to Duda and the whole thing. So I mean, that guy's having a run, and it's capturing the imagination of people. It's unfortunate what happened to Ruben Tejada, of course, the slide from Chase Utley taking him out, breaking his leg. Do you think, though, that it may have taken some pressure off the rest of the Mets? I mean, people rallied behind Ruben. They really had, real emotional feelings about this, but everyone was talking just about that, and the rest of the Mets went out and played baseball, and it seemed to work after that incident. They've only lost 1 game.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility, because you lose a guy like Tejada, who's really a nice player. I mean, the guy's consistent. You know what you're going to get. But then you put in Flores, and Flores has always swung the bat pretty well. a guy that's tough to strike out, but just defensively was probably a notch below what you want to see in shortstop. But he's played fine. I mean, and that's, up to this point, there's been no harm from that. So we're going to find out. I mean, Kansas City's got the kind of team that if you open the door for them, they're going to make you pay. And they're Salvador Perez behind the plate. That guy's one heck of a catcher, and he can hit. And there's a lot of things. So the Mets aren't going to be able to take the bases like they were against the Cubs. The Cubs to me just didn't look like they were ready to play. And like I said before, I think it was more mental fact that they had beaten St. Louis and they were just pretty much toast at that point. But it's going to be a lot different against Kansas City. Kansas City's been there. They've got some veterans. They've got a good balance as well. They can run. They can do a lot of things and create runs. Both teams catch the ball real well. It's going to be a very interesting series. But you got to hand it to New York. They've done everything they've had to do to get to this point. And now we're going to find out what happens when they face the best team in the American League.
What about Howard Johnson personally here? I mean, you not only wore the uniform and won a championship with the New York Mets, but you were back coaching with the team for a while, and you've worked with some of these guys. You've seen some of these guys in action on and off the field, so a little bit of a personal vested interest, I would think, too.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had these guys in the minor leagues. I've had them in the big leagues. I feel like I was there when they were cutting their teeth on big league pitching. So there's a lot of stuff that when I get to watch the games, it brings back a lot of good memories, and I still am in contact with most of those guys. So it's kind of fun to see where they've gotten to, and you feel like you're a little part of something anyway. The fact that guys developed under you and have learned how to play, and hopefully you want to produce winning players, and that's what they become. So you got to feel good about that, and it's going to be exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing these games kind of play out. And the Mets have always been an interesting organization and done things a little bit differently than most others, but they found a way to put together this year, man. And when they went for it, they went for it. You got to give them a lot of credit.
Well, Howard Johnson, I think the savvy Met fan realizes that you are a part of this and we're able to work with a lot of these guys, and that is not lost on some. I know that people have mentioned that to me, and I've mentioned it to others, and we appreciate you. 1986, of course, but beyond that, and Hojo's a good man, too. He's a great Christian and a heck of a guy, and you can check him out on Twitter and the whole thing. We hope to see you in the big leagues again soon. How's the family, four-legged and two-legged?
Four-legged's been good. Two-leggeds are fine too. It's been a couple of grandchildren now, so it's been fun being around here. A lot of kids now running around. It's been great. So we're looking forward to adding some more maybe in the future here. We'll see.
Howard Johnson, tremendous. The Mets and Royals coming up in the World Series. Listen, again, we had to do something different today. All I'm thinking about lately is the Mets. So what am I going to do? Talk about something else and not pay attention? We talked Mets, and everybody could get excited and hold on as the World Series will be starting this week. Howard Johnson, thank you, sir.
You got it, Kevin. My pleasure, man.
You can follow the great Met Howard Johnson on Twitter at 20Hojo. That's 20Hojo. After some one-sided propaganda about a misguided preacher was released by a pro-abortion producer, Sarah Palin responded in the film Armor of Light about a pro-life pastor who's now a crusader against the so-called gun culture in America. The pastor uses Governor Palin as an example of how Christians should not be, questioning how she can be pro-life and pro-Second Amendment. Well, Sarah Palin responded on social media saying, quote, "Preacher calling me out with his holier-than-thou condemnation for being both pro-Second Amendment and pro-life. I couldn't be prouder," and typically twisting context to fit his bizarre rant or quote-unquote sermon. Bring it on. Good job, Shepard. Don't think too many Americans will be led astray by you standing at the pulpit on this one, unquote. Bristol Palin writes all about this in her blog, and there's a link for that right on the Mama Grizzly Radio Facebook page. To see any of the governor's posts in their entirety, visit Sarah Palin's Facebook page, follow her on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA, and check out sarahpac.com.